So I can't remember what network they were at, but basically it started this conversation about the privilege of being able to do stuff for free.
Right.
Right? And while I have an ear to hear that, I'm with Cassy. Like, you know how many times I showed up and stuff for free?
Right.
Or like for coins? Because I wanted to be there.
Right.
I think, again, you gotta come up with your nose, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I have friends that are behind me in the industry now that are like, "Man, should I do this?" I'm like, is it adding money to your bank account, even if it's not the numbers you thought of? Like, yeah, you do it. Because I think people think, we get so much in social, so many gems. Like, there's one, the Bentleys never go on sale. Okay, that's true, but baby, you still a Toyota Corolla right now. And like, you know what I'm saying? So like,
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to League Biz. I'm your host, Denis Boateng, and this is where we talk about the business of basketball beyond the four corners of the hardwood. Today, if you are wanting to exist in this ecosystem, then this is the place to be. We have some amazing playmakers here, and look, you want to hear what they have to say. We have Monica McNutt.
hey,
What's
y'all.
up? We got Polo Kerber,
Appreciate it.
and we also have Cassy Athena.
What's going on?
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
Ecosystem.
Yes,
I'm excited for the
ecosystem.
vocabulary words that are going to be involved in this conversation.
Yes. It is an ecosystem. You know what I'm saying? We're all existing in it. And with people like yourselves, creatives, doing it your own way, I just feel like it's very necessary to get comfortable, share your story, share your process. So then people who are trying to find their way through this can also, you know, kind of blaze their path through it, because everybody doesn't get to wear a jersey.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just the reality of it. But I definitely want y'all to let the people know exactly what y'all do.
Okay.
Let's start with you, Cassy.
I've been a sports photographer now almost 12 years, 13 years. I started for fun, just taking pictures, especially during the NBA Lockout, of some local guys in LA. And then over the years, like, I couldn't get hired by anybody, so I just kept posting on social media, and I've turned into a lifestyle photographer for NBA players at this point. So yeah, that's kind of what I do.
Talk that talk.
Right.
You know what I mean? Polo.
She's dope. I mean, I can't really follow her, but I really just work with athletes, NBA and NFL athletes, off of the court or off of the field, and helping them with their branding, with their marketing, and just, you know, making sure that they understand the value that they have, and just having the guys be able to continue to build their brands.
I'm just trying to get photographed by Cassy Athena. That's the only reason I'm here.
So, look, I thought about photoshopping that tag low key. You know what I mean? But
I am, I guess one of the voices at ESPN. My first love when it comes to this space is calling games and being in the action, but I've reported on the NBA this past season, had the opportunity to cover the finals. My heart is still in women's basketball, both college women's basketball and the WNBA. Shout out to Esther Wallace and Players Society for our shirts from All-Star Weekend in Chicago. That was love.
I'm gonna need one.
So yeah, I'm just thrilled to be representing women, a part of the sports conversation, and ESPN has been really dope and giving me opportunities.
Yeah. Amazing. I'm just honored to be in a space with y'all, because it's like one of those things. I'm a very curious individual. I had hoop dreams too. But I mean, I'm like, 5'8.5" or something.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? So I was like, towels, maybe passing out towels, you know what I mean? But it's just that thing of, how do I get involved in the sport? Because I fell in love with it, you know what I mean? So when did you guys fall in love with the game of basketball?
It had to be third grade for me. My dad was a high school official since before I was born. And I just remember tagging along with him to games. And my first sport was actually tennis. Shout out to the influence of Venus and Serena. And then it's kind of like, Dad, I want to play ball. And I remember him asking me, do you want to play or you want to be good? And the answer was, I wanted to be good. And that started Saturday mornings in the gym, getting familiar with sacrificing in order to achieve a goal at a very early on age. But the game has been so good to me. And so I wouldn't change a thing.
For me, I was born in 1990, so probably 5'6", just being able to watch Jordan. and Space Jam. You know,
Yes,
I think,
Space Jam.
So
Come on now.
I think like, you know, just that just became natural. I got a son who's 1 year old right now. Like his first word was ball. So like, you know, he just loves ball. We've got like hoops around the house and, you know, he's just obsessed with it. So I think just it's almost like, you know, in my DNA. I definitely wanted to play, but I'm trash. So, you know, to be able to be in this space without, you know, putting that jersey on, like you said, is really cool. And, you know, definitely something that I grew up with.
Yeah.
For me, I got to almost 6 feet tall in middle school. So I was like, let me try sports. Like, so I dropped out of school band and started playing volleyball. That was my first love. And then as I got into high school, like I was just very drawn to basketball. And I'm not like the greatest at it. I played up till junior college, but I just love taking photos of my teammates or the guys' team. And so like that kind of mixture of like me being an athlete and wanting to document like the side of being an athlete, that's kind of where my whole thing kind of organically started.
Man, it's wonderful to hear how you all remember the time that you fell in love with the game and how you've been able to kind of find other gifts within it to materialize that love, right? So in my eyes, you guys are creative. So we got someone with the voice and presence, right? We got branding, and then we got the vision. Low-key superhero.
Look at you. I like the way you tied that together.
Yeah, that was a great
Cool.
description. Yeah.
I mean, come
a lot
on.
of gas coming this way. I appreciate it.
I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't, you know, I got a little sauce, a little sauce. I want to talk about like when you realize, okay, I'm not gonna go to the league. Like, what did that feel like, and what did you know? Like, okay, well, I'm gonna use my voice, or I'm gonna focus on branding, or I'm gonna pick up this camera. Like,
I didn't even know what I'm doing was a job, or once I realized it was a job, how to get into that job, and just like the importance of networking and meeting people, and you know, going different places. Even being here at Summer League, like I've met, you know, so many people that are in the space, in a similar space that I didn't know before. You know, so I think over the years, the more that I just kind of pushed myself outside of my comfort zone, and really just, you know, took a leap of faith, I think that definitely helped me. But, you know, it was definitely a journey, I feel like, to, you know, realize like, oh, you know, these athletes need branding, or, you know, they need help off of the court or off of the field, and really being able to just figure out how to do it. And then, you know, also on the flip side is being able to sell a brand on why they want to work with that athlete. And, you know, how much that athlete can help push that brand and, you know, increase their bottom dollars as well. So it's definitely a learning curve, but I feel like I'm doing all right.
Yeah. And it takes time. It's about the path, you know what I mean? How about you, Monica?
Oh man, this is a loaded one.
Get comfortable, get comfy, get cozy.
If I'm honest, I sort of regret, like that's probably one of the few things that I regret when I look at my journey, not attempting. When I finished in college, we had gone to the NCAA tournament. We had a pretty strong year. I had a very specific role with our team in terms of the defense that we ran. And I kind of told myself I wasn't good enough. Now that may have bared out to be true, but I do regret not even attempting. Like, if I'm honest, I really regret that. And if it didn't work out, it would still been an additional story, an additional chapter in my journey. And so part of it was I had tremendous reverence for what is required to crack that 144 spots in the WNBA. Another piece of it was I started sacrificing in third grade to play basketball, and I was ready to try something different. But I think my parents were always, and my parents and Big John, John Thompson Jr., who used to say, don't let 8 to 10 pounds of air define who you are. And so it was okay to transition and begin the new thing. I mean, I started to step into the media space and struck while the iron was hot after we had our NCAA tournament run in the DC area. But if I'm honest, that's one of the things that I do wish I had done differently when it came to the game.
Yeah, but you're great at what you do.
I appreciate that.
Like, I told you before this, like, your presence is fire. Like,
I didn't get that.
This is new. I don't know how to work it. But we didn't get that. You can repeat the compliment.
But no, because even like watching the finals, right, and seeing you and Big Perk, and I was like, yo, this is fire. Like, this is dope. The energy that I feel like is missing in the game sometimes, like that people being free, speaking, the entertainment side of things, and the presence, I think is dope. So, I mean, I ain't gonna tell you how to feel. You may regret it, but I feel like you doing amazing.
I think it's an honest regret. It is not something that weighs heavily over me in the present. And I think my favorite compliment is that, and people, two things. You're exactly like you are on TV when you meet me in person. Mm-hmm. Yes, I am. And then two, you look like you're having so much fun. Because I am doing my dream job. Yeah. Now, granted, the hours can be crazy, the demands get a little bit wonky, but I'm living my dream and I hope that cuts through.
Yeah, amazing. Cassy, you said something about like nobody was hiring you.
Yeah.
Like, and you just, it was like, bump it, I'm gonna just do my own thing. How did you feel while going through that period?
I think it was like very extreme range of emotions. So like when I started during the NBA lockout, like especially the Drew League, like I was the first person to go down to this small gym with a camera. There's only a couple like video guys, but the only photographer. And I was just like blown away. It was like all kinds of like Kevin Durant that year, James Harden, DeMar, like a lot of like dope basketball players. And I was taking pictures of them. They loved it back then. There was no Instagram. They're posting on Twitter, Facebook. And it's just like this super high of like, oh my God, like this is what I meant to do. Like I think right away Sports Illustrated took my photos because I'm the only one shooting. So I'm getting cool content. And at that time, I feel like media was very like, a photographer goes if they're hired and they only shoot stuff during a game, maybe a little bit of summer league and the draft. But for those like 2-3 months of the off season, there is no content. And so after, I just was like, I'm onto something. And I kept pitching like to all kinds of companies. I got these photos and they're like, nobody cares what players are doing in the off season. Like nobody cares about their outfits and their shoes. And that's all I had access to. So to me, it went from like this super high of like, this is what I'm in to do, to realizing very quickly that nobody wants to hire me to do it. So luckily, like through social media, and I had like, you know, not like the greatest equipment, but like whatever I could afford. And the players' support was like the biggest thing. Yeah. So I would send them photos, I'd tag them so I get credit, you know, with my watermark. And they all like, their feedback is like what fueled me to keep going. And when I would hit like big roadblocks as trying to get hired, players would take me in and say, come shoot my block party, come shoot my workouts, come shoot my family. And so it kind of like over time developed into something bigger, but it took like a few years before anybody was like really understanding like what was sitting right there, because for the longest it was just so, media was just like only at games, only for like articles. There's nothing extra, but because of digital cameras, it's just like more affordable to like capture content and do that. So
nah, you definitely brought that spice.
Like, yeah, you did.
I'll say this about Cassy, like obviously when we go out to these different places and we have like content teams and videographers and photographers, a lot of people always want their credit, they want their watermark. I'm the first person that like crops that watermark out or like, you know, doesn't show it. Maybe I'll tag them in the photo, but for Cassy, I feel like it's like you want that watermark. Like you're excited that your photo is tagged with, you know, her name. Yeah. And I just think it doesn't even make sense. Like, you know, the things that she was able to do, like, you know, starting from the lockout to right now, you know, she's really talented.
It's that branding.
Right. It's the branding. It's the branding.
It's true.
Nah, facts. To what you were saying, like with the players and kind of like feeling that validation, who was that first like player or just individual that was like, this is fire. I see what you got. Like, keep going. Like, who's that first person, if you remember?
I definitely like want to give credit to all the LA Hoopers, like everyone from like Harden, DeMar, like Paul George, all those dudes. But I'd say the one that really took it to the next level was Brandon Jennings. Like he would say, you know, and Brandon, like anyone who knows him, he comes from a very small circle. He doesn't have a lot of people. So he just was like, yeah, come to my flag football game. And his flag football game would have like 10 other players. And the players are like, well, if you trust Cassy, I trust her. So Brandon, like to this day, I was always a fan of his before I met him, but to this day, like one of my favorite people to shoot, if not my favorite. Great guy, and now he does like other stuff. I still follow his journey. So I would definitely say like Brandon inspired me and he like motivated me to be creative, because Brandon is such an artist too. Like he's a hooper, but he has a clothing line now. He's like tatted. Like I feel like he was one of the first people that like made me feel like, okay, like I'm doing something really cool. So I'd say him. Definitely.
Shout out to Brandon Jennings.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. He had the best lockout mixtape of all the players.
Facts. That's facts. Brandon, hit us up. What about you, Polo? Like, who was that person that gave you like that tap or that nudge? Like, hey, bro, you're moving the right direction, or I see this in you, or maybe redirect your focus because this is where you can win.
There's two people, both athletes, one on football, one on basketball, and they were the first that let me work with them. So LaShawn McCoy, who is a Philadelphia legend, and at this time, so like just to backtrack a little bit, like I was just working at Footlocker, just selling shoes to people, not really like knowing what my path would be in life, and just like bouncing around like job to job. But once I got the Footlocker job, I was like, all right, man, I'm at Footlocker, and so a lot of players would hit me up. It was easier back then to just be able to make sure players would get sneakers and things like that. So I started doing that with LaShawn McCoy, and then he, as we got closer, would like open up more, like hey, why don't you try to put together a meet and greet for me, or hey, I want to do this in the community. Can you help me do this? And it really just grew over time. And then, as he began to trust me, similar to what she was saying with Brandon Jennings, other players would see it and they would give me the opportunity. So with LaShawn McCoy, for sure, like without him, I wouldn't even be on this couch. And then on the basketball side was Nate Robinson. So I didn't work with any basketball players until Nate kind of came around, and he was just seeing all the things that we were doing for some of our football guys, and just really gave me the opportunity, gave me the chance. So those two guys for sure.
Now that's dope. And I think I could be wrong, but I was a YouTube head too. So it's like, I believe Nate Robinson was probably one of the first athletes that built content. I forgot the name of
State
it.
of Nate.
State of Nate.
Yeah.
I loved it. Like I was like, oh, he's building content. Like that's different.
Right.
Watching them, waiting for the episodes to come out and different. So that's,
even like the pranks and stuff, like he would do with Shaq with, like the salt, the salt water, dunking on him in random places, like things like that were interesting. And that was really at a point when like YouTube was just kind of starting to come around. Like Cassy said, there was no Instagram really at that time. So, he was really kind of ahead of that curve, and, just giving people access. I feel like even in my job, that's important is, it's cool if, I'm walking down the street and like I see somebody and I meet them, it's like, oh, I got to meet this person. But when you have access to somebody and you feel like you're there, like with LeBron, like he does a really good job on his social media, even, riding in his car and, the whole way he's there, he's just lip singing the song, but by the time he gets to where he's going, you felt like you were in that car with LeBron. So, it's like just being able to kind of have access to guys like that and, see something that's just not in the game. I feel like, the players that can do that, those are the ones that get those lifelong fans.
Yeah. What about you, Monica?
It's not players for me though. It's people, it's industry folks. I think the first person, when I was at Georgetown, our sports and information director, Barbara, what's Barbara's last name now? Jonas? Yeah, that's her married name. I would do the interviews and she's like, Mom, you should look into this. Like, you're really good at this. So that was the first person that kind of sparked my interest in, all right, if I'm not gonna go pro, how can I stay connected? And similar to what Cassy said earlier, tell the stories of my colleagues, of my friends that are still connected to sports. So she was the first person. And then when I think I started to get into it, LaChina Robinson, who is like the face of women's basketball, literally left chairs at tables, right? And told me to come sit in them. Like, she's just really opened doors for me and been sort of my fairy godmother in a way. And so now, like, we're close friends to this day, but I remember that because when she was like, I'm about to leave this contract, call these people, I was really wrestling with whether or not I could do this in a full-time capacity. And so just a lot of fortuitous bounces, I think, but that doesn't happen without first doing the work, right? And I think I am flattered by the reception in the last 2 years, but I've been at this since 2011. And I just don't know if folks know that if you weren't familiar with my journey. And so nothing happens overnight, that's for sure.
Yeah. That kind of hit me low key too, because it's like, with social media and everything, people may see and love your content, the way it's placed and everything, and just think like, oh, I could do that too. But they don't understand the story or the time it took, for someone to be able to build that type of influence or the personal brand, to be able to impact others, to be able to move in certain rooms with certain people. Because then the thing is about networking as well. Let's talk about that a little bit. Did you guys, when it came to networking, was it a natural thing? Did you have to learn how to do it? Or, what was it like for y'all?
Oof.
Anybody can
I
take
think
this one.
here's the thing with networking, right? Like, people will say go network, but what does that actually mean in practicality? And I think Issa Rae was the first person that I heard say this, how important it is to network across and not just be trying to network up.
Yes.
And that's certainly a shift that I've had in my approach in the last 5 years. And now that I got a little bit of clout, like pulling folks up from that are coming behind me. And that means the world to me. But I think the thing with networking is like, it's empty if you are also not consistent, right? Like the call that got me my foray into ESPN came through networking. But if I hadn't been prepared to go and knock that opportunity out the park, I would have never heard from the company again.
Yeah.
And so I just think, you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Right. Success happens when preparation meets opportunity, all of those things. And so while networking is a piece of it, I think especially in our digital and social media age, being photographed by Cassy and in a picture with the three of us and Denis, like that's what's up. That was great networking, but is it empty? You know what I'm saying? On the back end.
Right. I definitely agree with what you're saying. I feel like, like, yes, you can go network, but as she said, like, what are you going to do with it? And a lot of people say, it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I even take it a step farther and say, it's not who you know, it's who introduces you, to that person.
Yeah. So, that's a bar.
For sure. So, I mean, I feel like I can meet you right now, and it's like, okay, cool, it's all right, but maybe if Cassy introduces me, it can go a little bit farther.
Yeah.
And I also feel like it just establishes a little bit more of a relationship, and even going back to what she was saying, just trust when you know other people that know that person. I think for me, I'm very introverted, and like I'm also very like just shy, quiet, like naturally. So a lot of times, like even doing something like this, or when I have to go out there and meet people, I'm like pushing myself to do that, and sometimes it takes a lot of energy out. But that's the name of the game for what I do. So I definitely got to keep doing that.
Yeah.
I feel like networking and relationships are sometimes more important than like the skill that you have, because there's so many people that are talented, but they don't go anywhere if they don't have, relationships. And even how she was saying, like networking across, like for me, I feel like I made friends with everybody around me. I didn't care if you were like a higher status, lower, like I just viewed everybody as my equal. And I just built relationships. And that is honestly, it takes consistency. It takes following through with your word. Like to me, my word is everything. So a lot of people didn't understand like why I would take free pictures. And to this day, if it's an opportunity that I feel like I'll go do whatever to build a relationship that will turn into something later. And maybe not, but it's like, you have to put yourself out there. And so many people are not willing to do that. They assume, I like this passion, I want to get paid, or I'm not doing it. And unfortunately, like a big part of it is like going to events and networking. Like I would come to Summer League every year for free just to network. And now I'm out here like getting hired and paid and doing all these really cool things. But it was the grind of like building those relationships to get to this point. And with social media, it's harder too, because a lot of people, especially me as a photographer and living in LA, people want a selfie with a celebrity to post on Instagram to make other people jealous. But it's like, did you talk to that person? Did you build a relationship? Is that just a selfie to make strangers jealous? Or is it like an opportunity? So for me, like especially, I grew up, I'm very shy, like quiet. And over the years, I had to work at it. But learning how to have those conversational skills with people, how to relate to anybody, I mean, that could take you so far. And life is a popularity contest. Like my uncle would always tell me, like, it's a popularity contest. And if people like you, they're going to support you. And you need to show yourself as being a likable person and be a good, genuine person. Because in this industry, there's so many people who are not, and you'll be like out fast. Like it doesn't last long. So it has to come within and be a good person and work hard. And
it almost makes me think about, I had a friend tell me that like the technique that people may use sometimes, like they pass you off till you're outside of the building, and then you have no contact with anyone else because you're not doing your homework or you're not following through or you're not about the right and different things. And I know, like you said, in the age of social media, is like being able to filter through that is very important, because what you're saying, like somebody posing with a celebrity or somebody of influence that has worked hard to get where they're at, is like, now you're trying to use somebody's influence for attention and not necessarily building a genuine relationship to maybe you adding value to what they're doing to be able to then build something, bigger than yourself,
Right.
Mm.
I do want to touch on something else though, which is part of the path of being in the business of basketball, is the hardships, right? What moment, in your path did you like, dang, I don't know if this is gonna happen for me? Or you
more than
felt
one.
down.
Right.
And
It's been more
then
than
it's
one,
like,
child.
how did you maneuver through it? Because I think that's where that's the defining moment, right? You get knocked down. Now, if you don't want to get up, then you're just gonna be stuck in the same place, and nobody's gonna hear your story. But then if you get up, it's a different type of situation. So, what were those moments, if you have more than one, or a defining one that you remember or you would want to share?
I mean, I just remember off the top of my head, just COVID. Just especially with me doing branding. Now you have all these brands that are just shutting down. We had a lot of events that, we were planning. We were like, I think it was getting ready to be the playoffs or the finals. So, we were definitely getting ready to just start building more. And I remember I was at it was the Lakers and Nets, I want to say. I remember AD missed the game-winning shot, but I was actually there with Nate Robinson and a football guy we have he went to USC, Adore Jackson, and it was everything was normal, staying after, taking pictures with fans and everything, and literally later that night, it was like, all right, the NBA's just shut down, and so I feel like for me, that was almost a make or break moment of trying to figure out, okay, you can just sit back and just wait for things to open up again, or stop doing what you're doing, try to pivot into something else, or you can figure this out, and I just shifted everything, starting to focus more on digital brands, there are a lot of brands that killed it during COVID. So, really trying to figure out what those brands were, what those things looked like, and start to build my relationships there. And then also, focus way more on the digital aspect than the in-person. So at that point, I had never done digital events or, digital activations. It was all in person, fans meeting people, and trying to figure out really how I could give fans that same experience without being face to face.
COVID's a good one, Polo. That's a
Appreciate
good
that.
one.
Yeah.
Because I remember being like, I just started to catch. If games don't come back, all my momentum is it's gonna kill my momentum.
Right.
I think a couple of mine came before COVID. I was laid off twice in the span of 3 years. And the second one in particular, I had this sense of confidence because the first one I had a job before, my severance package hit my account. But I was like, oh, no big deal. Please, I'm gonna be back. It didn't quite work that way. It took me 18 months to catch again. And I legit, y'all, was like, well, I'm finna go teach basketball and coach English because the little kids in the hood are my favorite and they need me. And I'll do this on the side, and if it comes back, it comes back. But if not, I'm still gonna have a full life. And I know for me, so it was a whole lot of leaning in on faith, family, friends, and I had just kind of released it. And that was when, I got a couple fate-shifting calls, we'll say, and was able to catch back in. But I think for me, having had that experience, it allows me to do what I do now with more freedom. Now, do I necessarily want to go back to that chapter of my life on my tax returns and such? No. But have I been without this? Yeah. And I can still have an incredible life.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's because, I feel like we all know people, and they're probably going through it right now.
Right.
That they're like, yo, I want to do this, I want to do that. But it's just you want to tell them just hang in there, just keep creating, and it's going to happen. It may not be on the time that you want it to happen.
Right.
But here's the thing about pushing through, success is not for the faint of heart, right? And if the idea that you would push through that and on the other side of it is easy, it's not how it works.
Yeah.
I can't call the young woman's name, but I met her at the Women in Basketball Ops brunch the other day. She's the social media director at Duke. And Carol Lawson be putting out bars, on life.
Right.
And so her most recent one, I don't know if y'all seen it, but she's like, there's no easy bus. She's like, you learn how to handle hard better, right? And so in that season of my life where I was free to play, pick up in the alumni league, pick up my godbaby from school, hang out with my grandmother, that was hard because my career part wasn't aligned and I struggled with that. But now that I'm in my career piece and I don't have time for any of that, it's just a different type of hard. because the sacrifices are still required in terms of whatever it is that you want. And so whoever that may be, I don't know which camera I'm supposed to look at.
All love.
Trying to push through, like more than just pushing through, you are also conditioning yourself for success.
Yeah, that's another bar.
I was gonna say too, like, kind of going off of what she said, I feel like even sometimes I have an internal struggle with just always like chasing and pushing and then never really being satisfied, So even if I go back to when I was younger, when I was just a kid, like working in the mall, I was like, all right, well, if they gave me more hours or, if my commission was different, like, I'd be better. And then you get that. And then it's like, now I'm
you want this.
Right. And I'm just always pushing. So like there was a point in time where like my dream was to go to the Super Bowl, and it was like, man, if I could go to a Super Bowl and, that would be like the best thing ever. Now I'm tired of going to the Super Bowl. I don't want to go to the Super Bowl. I don't want to go to finals, So I feel like that's also part of it is just, enjoying the struggle and enjoying the journey and just also like trying to remove yourself from it and like take a step back and look at how far you've come, even though it might not seem that far to you while you're in that moment because you're always chasing. You're just going to be chasing for forever.
Man.
And so for me, that's like really big and something that I've just been trying to tap into a lot more is just appreciating what I got.
Yeah, that's good.
I think in finding balance too is really important.
Ooh, yes.
I think I didn't have a lot of balance. It was all like the same feeling they're talking about. Like I have like this internal, like I have to do this. I want to be better. Like every greater. But the problem is like you get used to being that person. Like Cassie's gonna be here, Cassie's gonna be there, and then it becomes more pressure of like I'm not gonna sleep. I'm just gonna go everywhere. And then I start getting drained, and I start like mentally, physically, like not feeling good. And like that was a good thing during that whole COVID break. I had no jobs, no work, and I had to like focus on other stuff. I started hanging out with family more. I started gardening. I started being outside, and now like coming back, I'm able to like have that balance because if you don't take care of your physical and your mental, you can't do anything.
That's
amen.
Like, it's like you don't want to get to that point where it's too late to come back from like, okay, now I'm in the hospital with IVs or something. Like that's not where anybody wants to be at. So I just think that like that's also a very important aspect of it is like taking care of yourself. Like it's great to be driven and be successful. And also it is not for everybody because it's like with social media again and like you only see the highlights. You don't see the stuff that we go through.
Girl.
And like I swear people think like for the past like 10 years, every day is just popping for me. Like I just hang out with celebrities all day and just get paid millions of dollars. And instead I'm like in hotel rooms by myself on the road, like shooting, editing. You know, I've quit photography like 10 times because I'm like, I've had like billion-dollar corporations try to shut me down all the time. Like still to this day, I still deal with stuff. And then you can't talk about it publicly because you'll make them more mad. So, and then over time it ends up like you get to a certain level, then they want to work with you. And so it's, I mean, I still go through it to this day.
We had that yesterday.
You said what?
That happened yesterday. No names, but.
Yeah, all the time. Like exactly. I'm in Vegas. I'm dealing with stuff like that right now. And people just, but at the same time, like those people that like forced me not to do it, it forced me to build my own brand. I'm thankful those corporations didn't hire me because then I was like, cool, I'm just going to go for free and put my name on everything. And in turn, I didn't realize I was branding myself. But so it's like those struggles, like if you can like you said, pick yourself up and just stay consistent and stay through it, like you don't know like what's on the other side. And every day your life can change. Like, so it's like, if you just hold on, like I've had phone calls that come in and it's like, what? Like, this is crazy. Like I've quit photography yesterday and now I'm gonna go do something, wild. So I think like that's the fun part about it, but it's also tough because it's not consistent. So
yeah.
But you know what? And I'm sorry, Dennis, I don't want to take your job, bro.
No, you're good. You're good.
I love what you said, Cassie, that like you didn't know you were building a brand.
Yeah.
Because you were just doing the work that you were true to, consistent with, and it emerged. I think now, like, there's this whole build your brand in 10 steps with me on Instagram. And it's like, okay, or you could just become whoever you say you're going to be, and the brand will speak for itself. So I love that. But also, indoor plants or outdoor plants on the gardening?
Outdoor, but now I got into indoor and water. I'm like a little obsessed.
I'm like so sad. I'm like, are my plants okay? I need to like check my camera.
I know, I got it all. So.
It's funny that y'all mentioned that too, because I be seeing homies like buying plants and it's like, oh, it's dead now.
No, Planned Parenthood is lit, but it's a real responsibility.
It's
Don't be killing
almost
the
harder
babies.
than having like a dog, or because
If you don't know what kind of plant you got, for
if
sure.
you don't know what kind of
Hey,
plant.
I ain't gonna lie, the plants and the sneakers look dope, but I still wouldn't be able to take care of one.
Right.
So I'm gonna just
We're
leave
gonna
it.
start you off
Just
with like
get you
a
like-
cactus.
yeah, I was
something
gonna
you
say,
water
yeah,
like once a
yeah.
month.
Plant,
like,
yeah, snake plant.
Help me out. Help me out.
Right.
But I want you guys to just kind of give some game. You already been giving game, but to a guy or a girl that's trying to figure it out. They might be in college or not. They have a passion for the game. They want to get involved. What would you tell them to? How do they get involved? Like, or even try to find what they like? What was the advice that you would give?
I feel like you have to like experience life and go through things and find stuff that you gravitate towards. Like photographers like coming up always ask me, how do I shoot NBA players? Like when I started shooting, I never thought I'd shoot an NBA player. Like that wasn't my goal.
Right.
My goal was like, I'm shooting like whatever junior college players I'm around or the whatever. And I'm just shooting the moments. I'm getting good at like the craft and falling in love with the process of it. So I think like the major thing is like to fall in love with what you do. And like, you don't have to work with celebrities. You just need to work with like whoever you could help build. And then eventually you could get to that level. But I think that that's a part like that they think you just go from here to here. And it's just like, and I feel like a lot of us probably didn't have like this is what I wanted to do. It like developed over time. Like you said, like at one point we all had like hoop dreams. We wanted to do something different. And then our passion and our path took us in another way. And it's not like, I didn't go to school for photography, this happened. So I think a lot of it is just living life and seeing what you're passionate about and falling in love with your craft. And like that's first and foremost. And then just like letting opportunities happen. So
I love that.
I think for me it's just making sure that the downtime that I have, there's still some kind of substance to it. Like, especially in this day and age, we're always on our phones, always on Instagram. When I'm on Instagram, I try to follow people that are in, a similar place that I'm in. So, one, it can give me ideas of things to do. I can network with people, be inspired by people. And then also like my Instagram DMs is literally just me like cold reaching out to brands. I probably hit up 100 brands a day. And if I got 1 or 2 brands that hit me back, that's 1 or 2 potential deals, So I really almost use my Instagram like LinkedIn and just take advantage of the resources that I have on that side. From there, my Instagram wasn't always, what it is now. Like I had 1,000 followers reaching out to brands and getting responses. So I feel like, you're almost so intapped or in tune with them because all the brands are going to check their DMs. Maybe you have like a customer complaint or, somebody didn't get their order or thing. So a lot of times you can get directed to the person that you're looking to get directed to just from, sending an Instagram DM. So I feel like, I definitely try to not just spend hours and hours just aimlessly scrolling or, doing things like that. And like I said before, just appreciating the journey to get there. Everybody wants to get to the end right now. And then you get to that end and then it's like, all right, what's
What
next?
else? Yeah.
What else? So I think just, keep it going and step back. Just appreciate what you're going through.
Yeah.
I love that. Hone your craft, right? Appreciate the journey. How do I add to those? I think the phrase that I've kind of said to friends and family is like, you got to have a healthy relationship with no.
Right.
And that is to use it and receive it. And so like, I think everything that we've all achieved requires sacrifices. So that was saying no to stuff that was frivolous and a waste of time. But I think along the way, Cassy talked about all her no's. I know I got plenty of no's. I don't know about you, Polo.
Tons of no's.
Right, tons of no's. And so you got to almost expect the no's and just count them as building blocks to your yes. Because it literally takes one yes to sort of start the momentum, change the game. But I think really understanding what you need to say no to is so important in one's personal journey. Because there's so many ways to achieve whatever success may be, but our journeys all look different. And so to say, do what I did, would be slightly misleading if I'm honest. Because you're not me. And I don't mean that from a place of pride, but like our journeys are going to be different. And our networks are different, our circles are different. And so I think for me, it's really having a healthy relationship with no, because they are inevitable. And if you are blown out of the water by no's, then good luck getting to success.
Right. I got something I want to add to that too. I kind of said it like on the digital side, on Instagram as far as like following people, but also just like surrounding yourself with people that are better than you.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I found myself like always around people that were like complacent or just like content with where they were at. It just made me like that as well. So, now I try to be like, I want to be the brokest person in the room. I want to be the least accomplished person in the room. And that pushes me to want to get to where other people are at, and just always being around people that's, better than me. And I'm not, too prideful to say I'm not the best. There's other people that I aspire to be like, and just trying to, learn as much as I can instead of, it's okay to be the leader, and it's okay to, also help people that might be in a position where they're trying to get to where you're at. But, having that balance where you can, shine some knowledge onto them, but you also have people shining knowledge onto you so you can continue to grow.
Definitely.
That's a big thing for me also.
Definitely. I don't know, and I'm curious, because I don't know if y'all remember, what was this, might have been in the pandemic. Remember when that thing went like lightweight viral about some reporters talking about taking free internships? Do y'all remember that?
No.
So I can't remember what network they were at, but basically it started this conversation about the privilege of being able to do stuff for free, right? And while I have an ear to hear that, I'm with Cassy. Like, you know how many times I showed up and stuff for free? Or like for coins because I wanted to be there?
Right.
I think, again, you gotta come up with your nose, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I have friends that are behind me in the industry now that are like, Mon, should I do this? I'm like, is it adding money to your bank account, even if it's not the numbers you thought of? Like, yeah, you do it. Because I think people think, we get so much in social, so many gems. Like, there's one, the Bentleys never go on sale. Okay, that's true, but baby, you still a Toyota Corolla right now. And like, you know what I'm saying? So I just think this idea of there is a one-way pamphlet, like we just need to dispel that.
Yeah.
Because so many of our journeys and our experiences are different. I have worked for free. There are still things that I would say yes to for free if I admire the person that is, putting it on, or I believe in the cause. But we just, you have to do the work. There is no cheat code to escaping the work, no matter what you're trying to achieve.
Now that's real though, because I mean, even for me, I every internship I did was free. I was just happy to be there. I'm like, my parents don't know nothing about this. Like, I didn't have no, hey yo, alley-oop. Like, no, it was just like searching, finding out what, where things were happening, and just like calling or sending emails, and just show up and do it for free, and see what you can get out the free that's valuable, that could take you to the next level.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like the word free too. I think a lot of people look at it as like, I'm doing work and I'm not getting paid. But free is like, are you getting some kind of like networking? Are you getting some experience? Are you getting some kind of, for me, like I'll show up if like, there's some of the most iconic photos I got, it'll be at like certain workouts and they don't want photographers there, but they'll let me shoot it. So it's not necessarily for free. If LeBron gives me a shout out, how much do you have to pay LeBron for a shout out?
Come on now, let's go.
It's like, and then also I built a relationship with like these athletes through a lot of times doing free work, and then they do it later. So I feel like free, maybe not money, but if you're gaining other things through that, whether it's for, whatever kind of stuff you're going towards, like the networking, the relationships, that's priceless. You can't pay for that.
Still value in it. Yeah, that's dope. You were about to say something.
I was just gonna say, I've had interns, free interns that are, finishing up college or trying to get in sports marketing, and 4 of them work with us full time now. So, sometimes you also, you got to put yourself in positions to be able to get to that next step that you're trying to go. And, it's hard, like, again, when you're, pushing, you're in that moment and you're trying to figure things out and, figure out where you're going to go. But a lot of these things, like, we've all done things for free. We wouldn't be here if we didn't do things for free. So it's not always bad to, to do things free, but still understanding your worth too. Don't do everything for free.
Don't do everything for free.
It makes me think about and I don't know exactly who posed the question initially, but like the whole, would you like have Jay-Z give you 50 grand or to sit down and talk with him for, for whatever amount of time? And it's like a lot of people, I'll just take the 50, or some people, I'll just sit down and talk to him. I mean, of course, everybody's in different places of life. and values may be different.
Yep.
But I think it's kind of that thing too.
Exactly.
Where it's like,
I feel like where I'm at now, I take the money. But
Yeah.
if I went
Right. No, but I was gonna say that's real though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
real.
If I went back in time though, I would for sure, sit down and have the dinner. Even Antoine, our video guy that's with us today, he started he hit me up on Instagram. Hey bro, I see you guys are, doing this. If you need to shoot here, if you need to shoot there. I started with him shooting my baby shower.
yeah.
And now he works with us full time.
There we
so
go.
I love
like,
that.
even things like that. It's like sometimes you just have to put yourself out there
Yeah.
and just understand where you're at.
And
Right.
internships, so I worked at a visual effects studio
Mhm.
for a couple years, and I had to intern there for almost a year for free, and it was 17 of us. They all went to like fancy art schools, like I didn't, and we worked like crazy. Like they would make us go to studios, get coffee, like all the like stuff that you expect of an internship. And by the end of the internship, half of them had dropped out, and so sometimes like internships I feel like are good because it's like if you can't handle doing like this,
Right.
you're not
Yeah.
gonna handle what comes next.
Nah,
And
that's
like out of
real.
that whole internship, me and one other person got hired.
Mhm.
And we worked there. And like if I thought the internship was hard, the job was crazier. So
Right.
it's like, I think a lot of times too, it's like a good introduction to like what you can expect. And if you already don't like it at that level, like then maybe you gotta figure out something else because it's
Yeah.
not easy and that's like a sample to it. But it's also great like if you take and learn from it and you're hungry. And everybody has to start from that place, I think a lot of people think I just want to make it to the top, but it's like we all had to grind and do it at that
100%.
level up. So yeah.
For sure. For sure.
100%.
It makes me think about back in the day, like when I was in college, I came back home. I was working at a grocery store,
Right.
right? So bagging groceries, but I'd be like, yo, can I take your groceries to the car? And I would ask questions.
Yeah.
I see somebody with a nice car. It's like, what do you do?
Right.
How did you get here?
Right.
Like,
This should be a series.
No, I feel like that's how maybe I perfected my interview questions or being able to hold conversations without even knowing it. But it's just like, yo, I'm gonna just do this and try to get as many gems as possible. Even on internships, it's like, can I stay after a little longer? Can I learn from, can I go into the other department? Is that okay with you after I do my job here to step in here and learn what they're doing? Just kind of, because I wanted to know what I liked and didn't like. You know what I'm saying? So it's dope with you saying that like, I stuck it out
Yeah.
and then got hired full time and
And I learned a lot about organization skills on this, digital side, like stuff you don't realize could help you later down the line for whatever you do. So
turn into a Swiss Army knife.
It can be your passion, but eventually every job, no matter if it's your dream job, is gonna feel like a job eventually.
Ooh, say that.
So
I love my job though.
yeah, I
but
love
it
my
still
job.
works though.
It's work. It's
Yeah,
work.
It still works. So, as she's saying, like, even with internships and stuff like that, if you don't like it in the beginning, then when you get, 5, 10 years down the road, you're not going to want to wake up and go do things like this. So, I think, too, that's important to just be able to find your passion so you can stick with that.
Yeah. I have a question that I want you guys to think about. Right?
Okay.
Who inspired you before you became who you are now, right? And then who is inspiring you now that you're at the place that you're at?
I can start. I know my uncle was, when I was growing up, that was definitely probably the person that I looked to the most. He's like a successful banker and his wife does the same thing. And, he just quit just because he wanted to go, work on his passion. So I really respected that a lot, that, you can have this stable job that's paying you well, and you just leave it all behind to go do something that you want to do.
Yeah.
And so for me, I also didn't really have a lot of people in my life when I was younger that, I could look to put myself in a better position. So I feel like, even he didn't hold back. If I was messing up, I'm messing up. And, if I got to get cut off, I got to get cut off and those things. And he was just very raw with me all the time. So he definitely was really big for me, kind of just understanding structure, understanding, importance of, just business and your reputation, what people think about you. So definitely my uncle. I feel like now I definitely have a lot of people that inspire me. I feel like, just looking at people that do marketing on a bigger level, like what LeBron has around him with, Maverick and Randy and Rich, I think those are people that inspire me, and, people that just have brands less, what he's doing with Slam. I mean, that's really dope. And, it's just people that I look to that, I would want to learn from and want to continue to build with. So for me, it's not a lot. But you know, the people that I do respect and I do inspire, I look at everything that they do.
Yeah, that's good, ladies.
For me, I'd say my parents are a big influence. Like my dad loved taking photos of me and my brother growing up just like for fun. And so like he's the main reason I associate like photos with capturing moments versus maybe like some other like photo shoot type stuff. And then my mom, like my mom's an immigrant. She's from Serbia. Like the stories that she tells me of just like her family trying to come to this country to give me the life that I want to live, you know, and I still am very connected. I go back every year and like know my family. And it's just like, I would have had a whole different life if they didn't struggle to get here. So, and then also my mom kind of has that whole like outgoing, like we made it to this country, like what can we do? So she kind of like helps inspire me to like, you have these opportunities, like don't waste them, you're here, you know? So, and then I feel like growing up as a like photographer, like even for fun, I never saw like female photographers, sports photographers. And as I started getting into this, I met a couple and they're very mean to me. Like it was almost like if it felt like they were the only women in that space and they had to like make sure to secure their spot. Like I was a threat versus like there's a bunch of guys. So it's like, it was just, I feel like that was a narrative that I wanted to change. Like if I make it to, which I have now, but like at that point I was thinking like if I make it as a sports photographer, I will always encourage like anybody, but especially like females that want to be in this field because there's not enough of us and I see why. Like it's so like you got to deal with a lot of crazy stuff. And it's just, so I didn't have a role model in that sense. I thought they were great photographers, but they're mean people. And then, you know, I've had like a few like guy photographers who are just like OG, like celebrity photographers in LA that would just say like, look, like rock it, do it. If you want to wear makeup, do your hair look nice, do it, but kill the photos, like do. So I had like so many dope like photographers that helped me and along the journey, I feel like there's so many people that end up helping us, but I would hope that now like I could be that, you know, influencer role model to people that I didn't have coming up. So
you definitely are.
No, but it's cool. Like, and I always want to be nice to people. I feel like I hate this narrative of like, you're an intern, you get treated like crap, and then you get to the top, and then now you got to treat everyone else like crap. And it's like, it shouldn't be like that. Like, let's all like grow together. And once you get there, be kind. Like, you can still be assertive and, you know, have your job position. But I feel like we got to start treating each other with respect, and it makes it more fun. And I feel like everything, like content's better, the workflow's better. So I think that's changing a lot, but I think that we're the part of the reason, you know?
Cassie's gonna get me beat up by my grandma because she's an immigrant and I didn't say that.
I mean, that's just,
But shout out my grandma.
Shout out grandma.
Shout out grandma. And she is really nice. I remember when the first time Cassy actually reached out to me, I thought it was like a fake message. Or like,
through the DMs,
I thought it was like a fake page or something. I was like, no, there's no way. You know, she's hitting me up. She wants to work with us. So it was definitely a really cool moment just to be able to, you know, do things with.
That's a different type of level.
The power of Instagram. I was scrolling on Instagram, see I was being bad. I was just scrolling. And then I saw somebody that mentioned him and I was just like, I don't know, like I got a good vibe. First time we talked, I was like, I have to work with you. So
Awesome.
That's fire. Monica.
Ooh, role models that's loaded. I agree with Cassy. Definitely my parents. I just think they instilled work ethic. My mom is a career teacher. And so at the end of the day, what I do on television is still communicating, which is similar to what she does, right? Like being able to communicate with young people. And she's always said, she's like, I knew you was gonna do something involving speaking because you started talking so early as a baby. But I didn't know that this was gonna be it. So definitely my parents. I think in the space, I remember, you know, Robin Roberts transitioning from ESPN Sports Center to Good Morning America. I remember Doris Burke calling women's college basketball, men's college basketball, and NBA action. And now, you know, Doris is a colleague and is still someone that I admire and is a role model to this day. Like, I don't know if people realize, but DB been in the game for 30 years.
She's the GOAT.
She's not fact. She's the GOAT. Yeah.
And so having the opportunity to have real and sincere conversations with her, and even Jamel, who has now moved on, Jamel Hill, who's moved on to do more production work and things much bigger than sports. But having real conversations with them about what it is required to be successful and to sustain that success, it just reminds me that I got to keep working. Because I think, again, you look at these people and you're like, wow, that's what I want to do. But do you want to do everything they did to get there? And so those are probably the first two women that come to mind in the space as role models currently. So.
Now that's dope because those two, I mean, even with Jamel, like we all know, like, I mean, going through all that stuff and still going, like, her voice is still big, and that's
The
very
show she had with
powerful.
Michael Smith when I was younger, I used to watch that every day after school.
Yeah,
His and hers?
Yeah, his and hers.
Yeah,
so,
they was killing it. I
Yeah.
love how they put the culture in it
right.
and everything. Very impactful. Like, once again, still talking about the business
Right.
side of things, like being able to be yourself.
Right.
I think is super important, right? Because we look at these basketball players and you know, you could go to their accounts and see what they're doing on and off the court. But then, you know, it's dope to see people like yourselves, like, also showing who you are. You know what I mean? Like, I think is very important because then you have younger individuals who are like, dang, she's dope, or he's dope, or I would love to meet them, or dang, they get inspired to be themselves too.
Yeah.
I think about, I heard Meek Mill say one time, like, man, when I grew up in the hood, like, if you walking around with a camera, you was a weirdo. Like, but now it's like the thing to do. Like, it's a path that you can use to get to where you want to be. Or I've seen a young lady who was interviewing like Jay-Z and did Shaq, and Shaq just gives her a whole bunch of money or whatever, like doing things like that. I'm looking for some young people to just start trailblazing on that branding side of things. So I think that it's amazing that the impact that people like yourselves are having in the younger generation, for them to be creative with their ideas and making sure that they occupy spaces because it's needed. I mean, it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger, this machine or the ecosystem, as I call it.
There it is.
That we're living in, and it's not going to slow down. It's going to continue to reinvent itself. And kids are going to get smarter, more creative. And we just got to keep up.
Yeah, man. I mean, you talk about being inspired, like the kids coming behind us.
Right.
Jeez.
Super inspiring.
I mean, all these platforms and the things they're doing, I'm just trying to keep up as much as I can, reading articles, watching different things and implement it, but it's really dope. Which brings up the question for me, like, what is the impact that you want to have? You know, when it comes to the next generation coming up, but the people that are following you guys, your accounts, or commenting or DMing you, that want to be involved in the business of basketball like you are, what is something that you want to, you know, leave for them? You know, some gems that you can leave, or what door do you want to kick down for them to also just, you know, get in the building, or giving them bars and bricks and whatever for them to build their own building?
I feel like for myself, it's twofold. First is, especially with NIL now, and then there's 12 states that NIL is legal in high school, and it's going to continue to build. So, you know, I think just having the athlete understand that they are a business, but, you know, if you're a freshman phenomenon and you're, you know, 13, 14 years old, you got, you know, all this weight on your shoulders, but now you're able to, you know, bring in money, support your mom, like, you know, things like that. I think, you know, just having them understand basketball, setting up LLCs, and, you know, being able to know that their brand is what they're going to have beyond their career. You know, you only play for so long, but your brand can last, you know, lifetime and beyond. So I think on the athlete side, you know, it's just that. And then on the side of what I do, you know, I definitely try to make an effort whenever people send me messages on Instagram or leave a comment or connect with me on LinkedIn to respond to everybody, you know, and not really like judge people when they reach out, and, you know, just kind of give whatever gems I can, because with myself, I didn't go to, you know, college to do sports marketing. Like I said, I was working at Footlocker and just, you know, made the most of it. So I think that's another big thing for me, is if I didn't have people behind me to put me in a better position, then I wouldn't be here. So if I can help somebody with some, you know, some good advice or good direction or answering any questions that they have, I'm always do that.
Yeah, good. Y'all heard that now, okay?
Yeah.
What's up?
I echo what Cassy said in terms of women in the space.
Yeah.
Candidly, I don't always want to do first take or like whatever, but I take a lot of pride in being a part of the conversation in a way that adds an opinion or point of view and not just as a facilitator of a conversation. Not that anything's wrong with hosting. I just take a lot more pride in having something to say.
Yeah.
And so I hope that my impact is more women, more diverse candidates in the space. I have something to say and I'm going to say it because that's what a conversation is.
That's right.
Viewpoints from different lenses. And so that's what I definitely hope is my impact. And I always say, like, who can I take with me and what door can I leave propped open? And I genuinely mean that.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
I feel like from the beginning, without even knowing it, like my biggest thing was trying to show athletes in a different light and show that athletes are more diverse than just being athletes. Like they have so much more depth and personality. So, and to show the positive, I never wanted to be paparazzi. I don't want any gossip stuff, no clickbait stuff. And sometimes it's a lot harder because you don't get like the views per se, but I feel like it's more fulfilling. So a part of my impact, like almost kind of like how Polo was talking about, I want to help the athletes build their brands like organically through my content. I want to show them in the best light possible, set them up to win. And then also like on the photography side, like, you know, there's like a few different people I've like learned how to do stuff and now they're photographers and video and they do big stuff in this space too. And I just like love being able to not only capture moments, but like as a person, I hope that I make a positive impact on every person I come across.
Yeah.
And, you know, with my work and my personality, like that stuff, I never take it for granted because all this stuff could be gone in the blink of an eye. And I think a lot of people don't realize that until they go through something that makes them realize that. So I'm just honestly grateful to like every day wake up and be healthy and like get to do what I love for a living. And I hope that through that, I can inspire whoever wants to do anything like in this ecosystem. As
If that works.
Hey, look, I had some help. I can't take credit for that. You know, I have an amazing team here who's helped me like put that together. So shout out to all y'all. But no, I just want to say thank you to each one of you guys. This has been an amazing conversation. I've even learned so much about you guys and from y'all. And I know the audience has as well. So Cassy, Polo, Monica, thank y'all so much. And I hope that, you know, we continue to do this to be able to impact other people who would like to be in the same spaces, creatively being themselves and, you know, just kind of curve their own path, you know what I'm saying? And knocking doors down. Not remove the gatekeeping and all of that and show that there's room for everybody to be themselves authentically.
The table is big enough. Thank you, Denis.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much. This has been League Biz. I'm your host, Denis Boateng, and this was an amazing conversation. Peace.
Way to go, squad! Amazing.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Nah, for sure. I thank y'all.